top stories, a veteran diplomat says Somalia's antagonistic approach to Ethiopia is a total denial of its contributions. And experts called to rethink the future face of multilateralism and effectively implement instruments and structures designed by global, continental, and regional bodies. To ABC World, the voice of Pan-Africanism, with the latest news highlights of the hour. I am Tabitha John. Do stay with us. Ethiopian delegation led by Foreign Minister Ambassador Taye Atqassalasie is taking part at the UN Summit of the Future, which is being held in New York. The summit calls for scaled-up cooperation and multilateralism by adopting 3 negotiated documents: Pact for the Future, Declaration on Future Generations, and Global Digital Compact. In his speech at the summit and participating in an interactive dialogue under the banner Enhancing Multilateralism for International Peace and Security, Ambassador Taye underscored the need to shift from rivalry to cooperation and build bridges to attain the most basic global development agenda. He said the United Nations must be at the center of effective multilateralism by overcoming the influences coming from selective national interests while augmenting its human and other resources to provide a trusted convening platform for contentious issues. The foreign minister also stressed the need for better prioritization, enhanced solidarity, and political commitment in the UN to assist nations in their efforts to eradicate poverty within their policy choice. Speaking on efforts to reform the UN, Ambassador Taye calls on the UN Security Council to carry out its functions and preserve its authority and to respond to the quest for representation by Africa. Ethiopia, through its Ministry of Foreign Affairs, has condemned the terrorist attack on the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region of Pakistan on a diplomatic convoy. The ministry mentioned that the convoy was comprising of several envoys, including the Ethiopian ambassador to Pakistan. Ethiopia conveyed its condolences to the family of the deceased police officer who was on duty escorting the diplomats and to the people and government of Pakistan.
Among Africa's 54 countries, one nation stands alone. Welcome to Ethiopia. When it comes to history, Ethiopia has a story to tell.
Oh, so you took that's behind it also, no?
Yes, boss.
Good morning from the largest lake in Ethiopia. I am in Bahir Dar, which is very north of the country.
It is the oldest civilized region in Africa, with more than 25 centuries of documented history. The Mercato is the biggest market in Africa.
So welcome to Mercato Market. This is the largest open-air market on the African continent.
That is delicious.
Say hello to our ancient ancestors.
Thank you. This is pretty. Hi. How are you guys? You don't mind on the video? It's all good? Yeah. Is the celebration this way? Is
Yeah,
I do. Like a parade?
Hey guys, Bishoftu Memorial Park, guys. So this is beautiful place. We just came here.
One of the responsibilities of men here is to protect the tribe.
We feed each other.
You want some egg? So he's the chief of 650 people.
Yeah.
There are the Dorze, a highland tribe who receives clothing,
Up now.
where men jump over cattle to
Oh my gosh. I'm short. Do short people do this?
Welcome to Bole International Airport.
Welcome back. A veteran diplomat, Ambassador Taruna Hazina, stressed that the current antagonizing approach by leaders of Somalia is disgraceful and a total denial of Ethiopia that has contributed hugely to maintain their country's statehood. In response to Somalia's hostile propaganda, the ambassador lauded Ethiopia's response in a rational and responsible manner as the anchor and historical nation of the Horn region and the entire Africa. Tigas Sarnis has the following account from the Ethiopian news agency.
For years, Ethiopia has been a steadfast ally contributing militarily, diplomatically and economically to Somalia's fragile stability, and Ethiopian troops in particular were critical in curbing the power of terrorist groups. Moreover, Ethiopian diplomats used their influence to garner international goodwill in aid for Somalia's reconstruction. Approached by Ethiopian news agency, veteran diplomat Ambassador Taruna Hazina stressed that when Somalia disintegrated into factions, it is Ethiopia which has done everything for the statehood of that country and to rebuild it.
When Somalia disintegrated into pieces, it is Ethiopia who did everything to bring Somalia into one piece, and to rebuild the state. Somalian government was governing their country from Nairobi. It was Ethiopia that facilitated the government of Somalia to go to their capital, Mogadishu. It is that country now making negative propaganda against Ethiopia.
The veteran diplomat pointed out that many Somalis reside in Ethiopia, in the capital Addis Ababa in particular, which is a clear demonstration that the two nations share the same population and cultural reaches amongst one another.
Every other country, of course, give importance for neighboring country. But in case of Ethiopia, there are things which makes it a bit different, because the population of neighboring countries, like in Somalia and Eritrea, they also reside in Ethiopia. There are probably some 6 or 5 million Somalians in Somalia, but some 4 or 3 million Somalians reside in Ethiopia. So we share almost the same number of population.
In response to Somalia's hostile propaganda, the ambassador lauded Ethiopia's response in a rational and responsible manner as anchor and historical nation of the Horn region in the entire Africa.
This is unfortunate fact, but Ethiopia has to be patient again, because Ethiopia has historical responsibility. Ethiopia is a big country, 120 million. Ethiopia should care for its own population, and also, as I said, for other Ethiopians, the relatives of Ethiopians living in neighboring countries. And the international community also expect from Ethiopia that sort of rational approach. We should not behave like Somalia.
As long as Ethiopia is an ancient country with history, culture, and civility, the ambassador hoped that the East African nation will continue to forge peace and stability in the region and beyond.
Experts said conflicts ravaging all over the world are testing the institutional capabilities of the current global, continental and regional organs. Approached by EBC, Samuel Doe, UNDP resident coordinator in Ethiopia, and the UN Peace and Development Advisor in Ethiopia, Zebulon Takawa, urged the need to rethink the future face of multilateralism and effectively implement the instruments and structures designed by global, continental and regional bodies. Johannes Fantahun reports.
When it comes to wars and human disasters that our world is suffering from, questions like where have we gone wrong and how do we reset global solidarity are to the forefront.
We are experiencing the deafening sounds of war across the world, from Gaza to Ukraine to the Democratic Republic of Congo and across many parts of Africa. So it's a sobering time for all of us to reflect on where have we gone wrong and how do we reset as humanity to foster and advance global solidarity that will help all of us to begin to again live with a strong sense of peace, global solidarity, national cohesion, regional integration, which are the bedrock for sustaining our democracies, for sustaining our respective societies.
Also, global organs like the UN were established to prevent wars and human sufferings. Our world is unfortunately ravaged by cross-border and civil wars, political instabilities, coupled by other man-made and natural disasters. For Samuel Doe, UNDP resident coordinator for Ethiopia, the reasons for the conflicts ravaging our world are not new.
Many of the conflicts we face today are not new, especially the causes of these conflicts, whether it is resource-based conflict, where people are beginning to contest over resources, limited resources, whether it is about the way societies are organized, our political institutions, whether it is about regional relationships across nations. These are not new.
Unfortunately, conflicts have stood on our way.
Experts like Zebulon Takawa, the UN Peace and Development Advisor in Ethiopia, are optimistic that if the world implements the instruments and structures that it has in global, continental and regional organizations effectively, it is possible to contain conflict in our world.
Unfortunately, conflicts have stood on our way, and it is not lost. The central message will be to use the necessary instruments that we have. I think AU, the regional structures like IGAD, the structures and instruments are there. Early warning, conflict prevention, all of them are there. I think what is lacking or what we have not done very well is the implementation. So if we could all agree and believe in that humanity and put violence aside, we can use these instruments. And from the UN side, the United Nations Secretary General has re-emphasized through a document called the New Agenda for Peace. The New Agenda for Peace, articulating what we can do to prevent, what we can do to resolve ongoing conflicts, and what we can do to rebuild in the post-conflict phases, and also to reconcile one another.
Samuel Doe, for his part, urged the need to rethink the future face of multilateralism compared to current institutions being tested by conflicts over the world.
What is challenging is that they are testing the institutions that we have put together to help us manage all of these political, economic, environmental, and social conflicts. They are asking us the questions, are the institutions we currently have, are they fit for purpose? Are they fit for the new organization of conflicts and power contestations? And that will help us now to begin to rethink and reorganize ourselves. What should multilateralism look like in the future? What should regional organizations and regional integrations look like? What should be the responsibility of civic groups, of political leaders, of economic powers across the world? Those are the fundamental questions that the new world order that is emerging is currently asking all of us.
In business news, finally, Ethiopian ambassador to the Republic of Korea and non-resident ambassador to the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, Desi Dalke, visited Shint BVT Co. Limited in Vietnam, which is specialized in the production of textile and apparel. During the visit, Ambassador Desi discussed with CEO of the company, Tony Din, according to Ethiopia's embassy in Seoul, South Korea. On the occasion, the CEO explained that the company is working to expand its investments in Ethiopia. Shint BVT Co. Limited is engaged in the production of textile and apparel like Gore-Tex, Sim, sealing, down, gloves, and